Hi there friends, and welcome to my beginner's guide and review for Dreamscaper. I'm Icon, and in this video I will introduce to you this action roguelite gem, and I'm going to talk about the general gameplay loop. I'm going to introduce all the basic features the game has in store for you. I'm going to talk a lot about why I think this game deserves your attention and what makes it special and outstanding. So first off, we have a high similarity to games like Hades and other action-based RPG games. So you have a melee attack based on depending on what you have equipped. You have a ranged attack, and you have 2 slots for spells, and you have a shield which you can use to defend yourself. Pretty standard stuff and pretty well done. Everything plays out pretty organic. Melee is linked on the left mouse button. You can shoot while holding down the shift key. Everything is also optimized to work really well with the controller. I really enjoyed the gaming experience altogether a lot. So what's really interesting here about this game is that you not only have to decide which kind of cool dream world weapon you want to have, there's also a really nice way of optimizing your combat. So every weapon or every melee weapon and also ranged weapon features a sweet spot for ideal timing. So while there's a basic attack combo for every weapon in the game, there is also a sweet spot. So watch my character flashing white at a certain moment here. Whenever that white flash comes, if I manage to click, you heard that chirping sound, and that's an indicator that I hit the sweet spot, which means with some practice, you will be able to make your weapons a lot more effective, and every weapon has a distinct maneuvering thingy. So when we start to explore here, everything here is set up in a urban fantasy style, and, well, we know this concept pretty good from other games, but it's fun nevertheless. You have arenas which must be cleared, there are monsters in your way, and there's traps, and, well, the good old jazz, which worked out for a lot of games before. There's containers which you can smack down, and there are different resources which we can gather up. This is all garnished with a little bit of a system where we can gather up some resources to be consumed along the way. Keys and bombs. Bombs are used for stuff like this little crystal formation here. You can't destroy this without a bomb. There's even more loot. These icons down here, these 4 different symbols, show you the meta currency, which is used to upgrade your game after each run. So we have here shops, where we can spend our sand, which we acquire in the adventures, which give you other items to equip and different spells to equip. We find things to recover our life, because there's no auto-healing at any point of the game. You play every one of these runs until you die. The map here is always procedurally generated with different things. There are also riddles, as you see here. This is Dreamscaper's own Minesweeper clone. So one filled circle means that there's a bomb in the vicinity, empty circles mean there's no bomb in the vicinity, and as you already might have figured, the goal here is to find the right spots and find a chest at the end. If you hit a bomb, don't you worry, the field gets mixed anew, and you get another chance. So these features make the game really fun. There's a lot to discover, and the procedural generation is really well made. Also, on top of that comes a pretty cool tile set. I personally found it super refreshing to have a game like this taking place not in yet another fantasy setting, yet another sci-fi world or whatever, but instead featuring a nice and well-made, melancholic and thoughtful urban fantasy setting, which looks pretty much like the normal world, but there's still the question why this woman is fighting monsters every single night while she's pretty bored and sad in her daytime job. So there are treasure rooms where you can find new gear. You can exchange your gear along the run. You see I can pick up a new shield here. And the real cool thing about this game is that the gear is sometimes fantasy-based, but also there's dream-based gear. I'm going to show you more about that later. You also can find memories here. For example, here at the burger house, we find a memory about the pit stop, and the longer you play the game, the more you will discover that everything happening here is the backstory of the main character. And the longer you play the game, the better you get to know Cassidy, and it's a really, really well done experience, which gives you a warm, fuzzy feeling behind the narrative, and I enjoyed myself a lot. Every level can also be fast traveled. Some feature I really enjoyed a ton. You just press the M key and you can just teleport wherever you want to teleport yourself. And that's really cool. This is of course topped off with nasty boss fights at the end of every level. That goes without saying. And overall, here we have already discovered 90% of the gameplay loop here. Of course, the levels are different every time and there's a lot to discover. But altogether, there's not much to be said here more than that. The bombs you place down can't hurt you, so you're safe from your own bombing. Memories are generated just with every run, so basically my personal experience was per run, one memory per level. So if you found the memory of a level, you don't need to look further. You have already found what you can find. There's also secret doors in every level, which need to be blasted open. There's always at least one secret room per level, and if you think you have found it, you need to place down a bomb and try to blast open the secret room's entrance. Sometimes you see a white shimmering outlining behind that, but I don't want to spoiler here too much. The only thing I can say to you, every single room is always cornered by 3 different entrances. They like to be not alone. So when you're looking for secret rooms, that's how you can get a hint of finding them. So beyond that, we're going to explore what the game has in store now in the waking world. Whenever you die, let's do this on purpose. Come on, hit me! We wake up and find ourselves back in the waking world. Cassidy has this dreams every day, and you can bet that you can have a lot of fun with that. As you see here, there are 6 distinct levels where we can explore the past of this nice and friendly person and find out more. In the waking world, we find a use for all the resources we gathered. So I want to start out with the unlocks we can do, and then I'm going to talk about the social system a bit now too. So when we go to the park, we can meditate and transform that resolve we gained into hard stats for ourselves. Health, extra damage to bosses, status durations, a lot of different things, and this is all done with a lot of creativity. There's no direct plus 10% damage, plus 10 armor. The only thing that's really very basic are the health and lucid, that's mana in a way, for ranged attacks, ranged attack, mana, whatever. But beyond that, the other buffs are all quite unique and creative, like a perfect attack window length increase, a better parry shock radius, because if you lift up your shield just in the very last moment, you shock your enemies. And there's a lot of things going on which make this game very unique in its own way, and by no means any clone. I really enjoy this part. Of course, this is not all. When we go to the local bar, we can also daydream a bit. Daydreaming unlocks new features for the level. In the daydreaming menu, you can bring in more riddles, more challenge rooms, more good items in the merchant rooms, lower costs for enchanting items, and so on and so forth. You also unlock more and more options the more points you spend, so there's always something to discover more. Last but not least, we also can sketch out new items. In our dreams, we can find ideas. These ideas can be used and combined with sparks, which is a reward for slaying bosses, to introduce new gear into your dream world. Basically, every idea you sketch out here in the sketchbook can be found. There's also keepsakes in this game, which act out like artifacts, which give you permanent passive bonuses, which can be also unlocked here in the sketchbook. So this is your passive progression, or your, well, extra skill unlock area, which brings in a lot of fun and creative ideas, from the pool cue to shadow stabs to poison daggers to a literal electric guitar of doom. I really like this stuff here, which we can't find. So that's what we can do to develop our dream world, but that's not all. Back at home, we can also craft items, because Cassidy happens to be an artist. These crafted items can be then given away to people in the outside world. These people here in the outside world are all quirky and have really, really funny and interesting interaction stories. You can sometimes chit-chat with them when they have an exclamation mark, to give which gives you some ideas of what they like and whatnot, and you can also gift them items. Don't you worry if you don't gift them the super correct item, they just don't gain as much relationship to you as they could. So when you check out these areas, there's also lying around these little blue dots. That's new ideas for artistry. And the more you get to know these people, the more buffs you gain. So every person you can know has certain buffs he gives you, or she, the better you know them. So I have here equipped Rose's Wit, which gives me run speed, and once it's completely upgraded, we will get run speed, attack speed, and red pit resistance. But that's just, well, red pit resistance is not something too important. You also take up notes of everybody here in the menu, where you find out a little bit more about those people. Also, there's the so-called to-do list, which acts out like a quest list with different rewards for this for the whole thing. Memory menu to reread all these things that you discover, and the loadout. The loadout is where we really have fun. You can either start out every run with a random weapon, or you can select a weapon to start with. Every weapon can be also mastered. As soon as you have mastered the weapon, you will earn mastery modifiers, which make you basically just more powerful. So mastering these weapons is worth it. I haven't discovered yet if these bonuses are general or only while you use this weapon, but I'm pretty sure the modifiers only apply to the weapon. Correct me in the comments if you know it better than me. So same goes for the ranged weapons. We have a finger gun, we have optic sear, that's Superman's laser eyes, slingshot, wand of blasting. The ideas here are awesome. This is what I really like about Dreamscaper, because there's a lot of different things to discover, and everything works refreshingly in a refreshing urban fantasy way. Okay, so that's that. We have discovered these things, and last but not least, after you went into the dream world a couple of times, you also unlock the intensity menu. In the intensity menu, we find a lot of replayability. We can configure the enemies, and as you see here, enemies not only give you an increased number and configuration of enemies, but once we unlock the nightmare mode, there's also different enemy types exclusive to the nightmare mode. The damage, well, the damage difficulties go without saying. Floor size increases the actual size of the explorable floor, which is really, really cool, because that's just more to explore. And the most interesting part came with the bosses for me. Of course, you can upgrade the bosses, but at Nightmare, there's also new patterns on these bosses. So there's a lot of depth and unlockable new challenge in this game, which keeps you busy for quite some time. So this ends up this little tutorial, guide, whatever, review, however you want to call it. And I just want to say that Dreamscaper is one of the most surprising titles for me recently, and I catch myself playing it every now and then quite often, because the fighting is well done, the bosses are challenging until you know their patterns, and then it's really fun to train out to get better with that. I enjoyed the gameplay a lot. So feel free to drop me your comments down below, share your thoughts with me, and if you have any questions, ask away. And of course, leave a thumbs up on that video if you enjoyed it to make it more visible to everybody else, and check out my channel too. I do daily content, you might want to check that out, and turn on the notifications on to not miss anything in the future. Also, in the description box down there, you will find a link to my Twitch channel where I do regular streams, and last but not least, also links to support this project if you feel like doing so. Whatever you do or don't, just let me thank you one more time for your time and attention, and I hope you have a good day. See you soon. Bye-bye.